Inside action, innovate. The Master Series elevates.
In this session of the Master Series, Sonel Rubinstein and Joe Weeden from the Microsoft Dynamics 365 Contact Center team explored how real-time voice agents are transforming the customer service experience. They walked through the evolution of voice in the contact center, from rigid DTMF menus to today's generative AI-powered speech-to-speech conversations. Sonel demonstrated a live real-time voice agent built in Copilot Studio, showcasing features like natural low-latency dialogue, multilingual language switching, MCP tool integration for real-time data lookups, child agents for modular design, and seamless handoff to live agents with full context. The session also covered topic support for deterministic compliance flows, in-canvas voice testing, and real-world use cases across industries like retail, healthcare, and financial services. Let's check it out.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to meet you. My name is Sonel, and I'm a product manager within our contact center space, and I lead the real-time voice agent feature, and I'm really excited to be talking to you guys about it today. But first, I'm going to let Joe introduce himself and kind of just set the scene of contact centers so you guys are all aware. So over to you, Joe.
Thanks a lot, Sonel. And yeah, really good to meet you. Thanks, everyone, for your time today. I'm a principal product manager working on the contact center, handling all things voice. If you could go to the next slide, please. So before Sonel deep dives into the real-time voice agents, wanted to talk a bit about the contact center product for which the real-time voice is a part. Just kind of to level set, so you have a bit of background here. So our view is that customer service is evolving from disconnected channels and workflows into an intelligent system that can own and orchestrate interactions end to end. So Dynamics Contact Center is an AI native unified platform across voice and digital channels. So you'll see here we support voice, SMS, live chat, email, and some other channels. It's got a single routing layer, a single operational model, and a single data foundation. And AI is integrated right through this experience from self-service to assisted service. So interactions begin with AI-led automation. That's the self-service bot here. And when human engagement is needed, the system carries forward the customer's intent, context, and conversation history. So the experience feels seamless rather than fragmented. Historically, contact centers have sort of built up over time and tend to have quite sort of siloed data and siloed experiences. Underneath that, we're combining Copilot agents, connected data, analytics, and operational tooling into a single platform architecture designed for the AI era. So not just layering on AI into a disconnected system, it's built ground up with AI architected in. So next slide, please. So as part of the platform, the way we think about this is there's three core agents that are working together across the whole contact center lifecycle. The first is the customer assist agent, which focuses on customer interactions and customer engagement. So this is autonomous self-service combined with real-time assistance for human support representatives. Then there's the quality assurance agent, which continuously evaluates interactions, providing coaching and compliance, helping supervisors to provide the best quality interactions and providing quality insights in real time that can be acted upon. And the third is the service operations agent, which is all focused on setup and governance and optimization and operational efficiency. And together, these agents work together as like in a continuous learning loop across engagement, improvement, and operations, and just making sure that the contact center is smoothly running with the human staying in control throughout. Next slide, please. The session today, and I'll hand off to Sonel in a minute, and she's going to deep dive into the real-time voice capability. The session today is primarily focused on the customer assist agent and its real-time voice capabilities. So the way we think about the customer assist agent which handles all the customer interactions. It's not just a standalone bot. We think of it as an evolution of traditional IVR, and self-service into a more intelligent interaction system. So interactions can begin with AI-led self-service across both voice and digital channels. The agent can understand intent, so what the reason the customer's calling in about, can maintain conversational context. It can take action using MCP tools to connected to various connected enterprise systems. But just as important, it's designed for seamless collaboration with human representatives. So if an escalation does happen to a human support representative, the handoff includes all of that context. So includes the captured intent, the context, all the summaries and next steps and so on. So the customer doesn't have to explain what and repeat themselves all over again. And the representatives can focus on judgment and empathy and the actual solving of the problem. And this framing is important for the real-time voice, because our goal is not just to make the conversations sound more natural, but it's also to create a unified customer engagement system that combines automation, assistance, and human oversight into a single kind of joined up experience. So that just frames up the contact center and the kind of context with which the real-time voice agents sits. And now I will hand over to Sonel. If you could move on to the next slide, please, and I'll let Sonel take over.
Awesome. And yeah, Sarah, and let me just take off the screen sharing from you so I can go through.
Sounds great.
Can you guys see my screen?
We can.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So, hey everyone. So now we will be getting into our topic of real-time voice agents. We have really great things to cover. So as Sarah mentioned, please feel free to put questions in the chat, and then we'll also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end. But with that said, when we want to first understand, real-time voice agents, it's really helpful for us to first understand what exactly is real-time voice. And the best way to start that is really looking at the voice evolution timeline and just understanding how voice has evolved in the contact center space. So if we look at this timeline, most contact centers started with DTMF, where customers were forced to adapt to rigid systems by pressing numbers and navigating these fixed menus. From there, we went into directed speech, which was an improvement, allowing customers to, say the predefined options, but it was still very deterministic. From there, we started seeing the introduction of early NLU natural language systems, which relied on statistical models to classify intent and route calls. But this meant that customers still had to phrase their problems in the right way in order for their intent to properly be captured. The next evolution that we saw was within predictive intent, where systems began using customers' history and context to proactively route the callers to the right place. And while this did reduce friction, the experience was still fundamentally constrained by pre-built flows and assumptions that needed to be made during design every time. Every outcome had to be anticipated to take into account, human edge cases or just really human complexity. And so while these systems could predict, they could not reason or adapt in the moment. And so all of that brings us to where we are today, which is within generative AI, which really changes this whole experience entirely. Instead of designing every step of an IVR, the entire call flow can now be created dynamically in real time. These systems are able to listen, reason, respond conversationally while using grounding business rules instead of the menu trees. And so this is really why real-time voice feels different. They essentially represent a shift from scripted interactions to adaptive conversations. And that shift is what enables scalable self-service without sacrificing experience or control. And so I say all of this to kind of just, set the scene of where we are today and really just paint the story that we are in this generative AI space and how far we've come. And so I just hope that, we all are aligned of where we are today. And this then will bring the question of okay, so then what are we doing at Contact Center to really be aligned with this generative AI space that we are now in? And so that brings me to real-time voice agents. And so we are introducing a real-time speech-to-speech experience that offers a more natural, fluid, and context-aware conversational experience compared to traditional IVRs. With real-time voice agents, a caller can speak directly to an IVR agent that is powered by a generative AI real-time LLM and engage in robust and dynamic low latency conversations. And so we'll get into all of that and really what does that even mean and look like. But first, I just want to kind of also explain all the different products that are at play here. So Joe and I are from Contact Center, and this is a Contact Center-led feature. But we do have a lot of great Microsoft products that are being used to help build this. And so as we go through this presentation, I will be referring to a lot of these products. So I want to just set the scene here so that we are all aware and understand that we have a lot of Microsoft's greatest technologies being used here. So first we have Copilot Studio, and Copilot Studio is where the agent configuration and behavior occur. This is where you define the agent's behavior and personality, and we'll see that a little bit. Next, we have the Azure OpenAI GPT real-time model, and this is the multimodal LLM that we are using for speech understanding and generation, and this is what allows us to enable that natural low latency voice conversations. And then we have our telephony, the Teams phone system, and the orchestration layer that is powered by Dynamics Contact Center to really bridge the call between the Copilot Studio agent that you have, the real-time LLM, and just your phone call audio. And so as you can see here, we have a bunch of Microsoft products being used to build these real-time voice agents. And so I just wanted to set that scene here first so that we all are aware, because I will be referencing these products. And so just wanted to make it clear. But now that we kind of understand what like real-time voice agents are, I really just want to, hone in on the point of what is real-time voice. And when we say real-time voice, what we really mean is a voice experience that behaves like a real conversation, not a phone tree and not a scripted bot. At its core, this is a speech native AI. So we're processing voice directly as voice. It is audio in and audio out in a single step. And so what this allows us to do is to first unlock ultra low latency, but also be able to operate in real time, which allows us to adapt emotionally and have really high emotional intelligence that we'll see with these real-time voice agents. The agent can pick up on things like pace, tone, and frustration, and it not only is going to be able to adjust what it says, but also how it says it. It could slow down, sound more empathetic, get straight to the point when needed, and that's really a big point and a really big, great addition with this feature. And all of that really just allows us to create a more natural conversation from the customer's perspective. And most importantly, this flow is customer guided. The conversation goes where the customer takes it. We're not forcing them through some sort of predefined script or a menu tree. The AI follows intent dynamically instead of enforcing whatever structure that, we would have to put on them beforehand. And so really the big takeaway is that real-time voice is a speech native, low latency, emotionally aware conversation that feels human and stays flexible because, real conversations don't follow scripts. And so hopefully we kind of understand a little bit more on what is real-time voice. But I think what also helps us understand, the benefits of real-time voice is comparing it to what we all are probably familiar with today within our IVRs. I'm sure most of us have called into some sort of contact center for, paying a bill, checking on their order status, or even just calling to your doctor's office and being met with an IVR. And so I know we all are aware of, what the current experience is with IVR. And what we see today is that traditional or classic IVRs still play a critical role, especially when we need deterministic and prescriptive control. There are real scenarios like compliance messaging or regulated flows where you need the system to say very specific things in a very specific way at a very specific time. So for example, things like this call is being recorded or any high risk transaction flows where you're required to present certain statements. These are ideal for IVR, classic IVR, for those deterministic experiences. But when we see things start to change is when we look at the limitations of these traditional systems. Historically, building a high quality IVR required significant investment from a dedicated team to design, train, and maintain these systems. And even then, those systems struggled when users went off script. If someone phrased something in an unexpected way or said some sort of ambiguous request, the system would often fail and fall back to rigid prompts, asking the user to pick from predefined predefined options. And then we all know that would create a bunch of friction and often led to callers opting in to, speak with a human agent. And so we see that while IVR has its strengths, there are a lot of, limitations with the systems. And so this is really what is making us think about the new experience that we want to create. And so what we are doing now is a generative AI first approach, which is fundamentally different. We're removing that dependency on rigid training and predefined paths, and instead enabling the system to understand and respond to more flexibility and natural user input. And so just to kind of, explain it a little bit more on the difference between both, within traditional IVR, these are really great for, your single intent interactions, anything where it's a lot more predictable, more deterministic flows. But where we really see real-time voice shines is when you want to have these dynamic, multi-turn, ambiguous conversations. And so throughout this presentation, I'm going to be talking about how great real-time voice is and all that. And that's not to say that traditional IVR doesn't have its own strengths, because it's been around for decades and we know how successful traditional IVR has been. But when we see where the voice evolution is going, and we want to align better with that. And so as I continue this presentation, I'm going to be talking about how great real-time voice is. And it's not to say that traditional IVR doesn't have its own strengths. It's just each have different scenarios that, both do really well at. And so hopefully that kind of just sets the scene on the differences. And I think also just to hone in on the point a little bit more in terms of at its core from the technology perspective, what really are the differences? And so when we look at traditional IVR and the architecture and what's really happening, when a caller calls in, that audio is captured through automatic speech recognition systems and converted to text. And then from there, that text is analyzed for intent using the NLUs, and then a deterministic response is selected, and then that response is synthesized back into speech to be played to the user. And so when we look at these sequential steps, you can imagine the latency as a whole would be pretty high. But when you start trying to add generative AI and a bunch of these other elements to this flow, it can lead to a lot more latency, a lot more rigid flows, and just doesn't sound as good. Versus when we look at the architectural approach with real-time voice agents, you'll often hear people say speech to speech when talking about real-time voice agents as well. And this really is speech in, and audio out. And so what ends up happening is when the caller calls in, that audio is brought into the model. And in our case, it's the Azure OpenAI GPT real-time model. And this model is able to do all the speech synthesis, collection, understanding that we see with the traditional architecture in this one single step. And then it's brought back as audio out to the caller. And so this is what allows us to not only just achieve this ultra low latency, but also to be able to be in real time, understanding emotion, detecting tone, and adapting to voice and pace. And so I hope this kind of also just, explains it a little bit better on the differences at the technology side of really why you're able to achieve a lot better results when you're using real-time voice agents in terms of latency and just natural sounding conversations. So yeah, that hopefully just kind of, set the scene of really what real-time voice is, and kind of gave you guys a better overview of really what it is that we are talking about here. And now I kind of just want to spend some time going over the different features that we have with real-time voice agents. So I'm not sure if we mentioned this in the beginning, but we are currently generally available with our real-time voice agent feature. We announced it back in April. And so now I'm just going to spend some time kind of going through all the features that we are supporting with our real-time voice agent as part of our April release. So we are all aware on that. So starting off with topic support. So how I said in the beginning with traditional IVRs, they worked really well when we needed to have deterministic approach and being able to say things, any verbatim messages, any compliance messages, things like that. Anyone that has used Copilot Studio before and has built any voice agents knows that with topics, we are able to accomplish that. You can have a bunch of different topics that handle different tasks when you want them to say certain things, whether it's compliance, whether it's authentication, whether it's verification, things like that. And we're really excited with our real-time voice agent release that we are able to also support these topics today within this experience. And so what this really means is that you can continue to have these generative AI conversations where you can have AI drive the dialogue, but there are going to be situations where you need to say verbatim messages, whether that's for compliance, whether that's for any sort of types of disclosures. And so you can continue to integrate topics within your real-time voice experience, which is really, really important to us because we want to be able to give you that flexibility. When you wanted to have it more natural, more, generative AI focused, you can, but when you wanted to have it more structured and predictable, you still can by using topics. And so just to kind of also show it in what this might look like in a standard flow, you can have the first greeting and intent discovery be generative, but then when you're getting on to identity verification or consent capturing, this is where you can start introducing deterministic topics. Then with knowledge lookup, that can be generative, and then payment or sensitive confirmation, that can be deterministic, etc. So I'm just saying this to kind of just show that, within our real-time voice agent, you can still have some of the goodness that we have with traditional IVRs where you want things to be said at a certain time at a certain way with the real-time voice experience. And so you don't have to really choose between having generative logic and also having deterministic logic, because we know for a lot of enterprises, both are super important. So that's something that we are offering as part of our release in April. The next thing that I want to highlight is MCP tools. So within Copilot Studio, you can have a set of different tools, different connectors, different flows to really enrich your agents with. But for this one, I want to talk about MCP tools because MCP tools really take your agents from something that talks like a standard FAQ bot that can answer a bunch of different questions to something that can get things done. You can integrate a whole set of different systems to really perform different operations. So you can think of different use cases like retail, manufacturing, when you're checking on order, updating delivery, sending confirmations. All that can still be accomplished with these real-time voice agents by using these MCP tools and different types of tools. And this is what also makes it really special, because you're not just having an agent that can, answer a bunch of questions, which is really nice, but you can also have it do other things and perform different actions and operations that otherwise you would need to have human agents do, and you can offload some of those tasks. So that is something that we're also supporting with our release. The next one is the IVR parity. So for anyone here, for any enterprise, customers here, that we know IVR capabilities are super important, and this is some of the stuff that you continue to get with traditional IVR, but you're also getting with real-time voice. So things like DTMF input and being able to put in key put inputs, silence detection. If someone's on the line and there's silence, you're still able to prompt them to be like, "Are you still there?" and decide how you want to handle that, whether you want to escalate the call, hang up, whichever sort of actions you want to take. Agent transfer is an important one, and being able to not only just transfer that call to a human agent, but also have all the context that was said in that call so that the human agent can see. So all of these are, things that we all probably know from traditional IVR and building any IVR systems, but we continue to have them with real-time voice agents. Latency messages are another one. So whenever you have any sort of tools like the MCP tools I just talked about, some operations can take a few seconds. And instead of having the customer hear, silence while those backend operations are happening, you can have different latency messages play or different audio files play, letting them know that, hey, I'm looking at that request right now. It's going to take a few seconds, instead of just giving, the caller silence and them wondering like what's happening. And then the last one is speech sensitivity. So we know callers are calling in from different environments, whether that might be a noisy environment, not noisy environment. And so just being able to have different speech sensitivity settings to adjust to all of those scenarios is something that we continue to provide. And so, yeah, I have this here just to show that, we know with traditional IVRs, these are some features that are none of them are very new, but this is more just to show that with real-time voice agents, you can still continue to have all of this goodness that we have all, known and loved till then. So that is within our IVR space. And then getting on to our multilingual capabilities. And this one is something that I think everyone is really excited about. If anyone has built any sort of IVRs before, you know that creating multilingual experiences takes a lot of work, at least within Copilot Studio. To be able to have one agent represent a bunch of different languages, you have to add the localization strings and really just go through a whole process of making sure that all the different languages are supported. But with real-time voice agents, this is special because these agents are able to not only automatically detect when, a language is being said that's different than what it was originally, but it's also able to switch languages on the fly. And so this is really, really important because when you think about how long it would take to build a IVR agent in the past that was able to understand a bunch of languages, now with real-time voice, that is possible. And this really just opens the door to a whole bunch of different opportunities, and being able to work with customers and reach out to customers in languages that you probably couldn't have before. And it just really opens up those doors and unlocks a bunch of different opportunities and just reaching customers that otherwise you didn't have the language resources to do. And so this is something that we see that people are really excited about, and just really, rightfully so. It is exciting to be able to just support a bunch of different languages all around the world. And then the next one I want to highlight on is child agents. So anyone that has built any sort of agent in Copilot Studio might be familiar with child agents already, but child agents are essentially sub-agents within your parent agents that follow the same life cycle, but you are able to specify what different tasks you want these child agents to do. So for example, imagine you have one main parent agent for your company, but you have different lines of businesses like billing and order status. You are able to create child agents to handle all of those separate modular tasks, all of those specialized lines of businesses, instead of just putting all of that information in the parent agent and all of that knowledge in it. So instead of just, cluttering all that in the parent agent, you are able to just have that all specialized within different child agents. And so this is really important as well because it really allows you to just like focus your attention on the different tasks and really just help structure your agent and be able to take care of different options and things instead of just making it all within one parent agent. So that is also something that we are supporting with real-time voice agents as well for anyone who has built any sort of a Copilot Studio agent and knows child agents. And the last thing I want to highlight in terms of the features that we have as part of our GA release is the in-canvas voice testing. So in-canvas voice testing is something I'm really excited about because this is essentially being able to test your voice agent using your voice. If anyone has tested anything within Copilot Studio up until now, knows that any sort of agent that you would test, you'd have to use, text. And so you would have to use it like a chatbot, even if you've created a voice agent. So now with this release, we're actually allowing you to be able to test it with your voice. And this is really awesome because essentially, as you're making the changes to your real-time voice agent, you can test it out and see it and how it's acting in real time. What you would have to do before is publish that agent, then call in and then see how it sounds, and then make the changes. And that's just a very tedious process. But now with this testing in Canvas, it allows you to have faster iteration, instant feedback, all this great stuff. And then also you're able to see the journey view. So what that means is you can see how different topics are being triggered, how different tools are being triggered, and really just see the call flow happening. And so if the wrong child agent gets triggered, you know that, okay, something needs to change. And you're able to see that instead of going through a call and trying to figure it out. And so this is something that I'm really excited to kind of, go through and talk about because I think it's really important and something that we've been hearing a lot of interest on. And so that kind of just summarizes all of the main features that we have as part of our April release. There's a bunch of other stuff, but I think these are the main ones. And I'm going to actually go through it in Copilot Studio, going through all of these so you guys can actually see it and what it means. But before I do that, I think I've kind of hopefully driven the point of why real-time voice is so special. But just to kind of end off this session, just to discuss how customers are using real-time voice across different industries and levels of complexity, because as we can see, you can do so much with them. And I think it's important to kind of just touch on that. At one end, we see customer support and contact centers. So these are things like your high volume conversational issues, things like billing and questions and troubleshootings, policy checks, all of that. Real-time voice is able to resolve these issues faster when needed, and then they can also hand off to live agents. And so it just leads to lower call handling time, reduced agent load, and honestly a better satisfaction score. We also have it on account order and status inquiries. So when we look at the MCP tools that I just talked about, you can do operations like order tracking, account balance checking. These real-time voice agents are essentially able to call these backend systems directly and make it ideal for high volume automation without, of course, forcing customers through those menus. Also for regulated or sensitive workflows in industries like financial services or healthcare, customers need that deterministic, predictable flows. So things like the authentication steps and the compliance disclosures. And so as we saw with the topic support, you can continue to achieve that. In retail, hospitality, and service, the focus is always on availability, and voice agents really scale instantly here without adding staffing constraints. And then lastly, we just have the voice first experiences. So these are, the experiences where voice is the most natural interface when speed and ease matter most. And so I have all of this, but really the key takeaway is that real-time voice supports a broad spectrum of use cases, from open-ended conversational self-service to tightly controlled enterprise workflows, and all of this without forcing customers into one rigid, interaction model. And so really just kind of wanted to highlight that just to make it clear that real-time voice really just spans across a bunch of industries, since I know we probably have folks from a bunch of industries on this call. But with that said, I'm now going to pivot into going into Copilot Studio to actually show you exactly what I just talked about so we can kind of actually see it all together and really, point all the things that we saw and then really go through a real-time voice agent and kind of just understand a little bit better on how we build one. So I'm going to stop sharing and then reshare my screen. So let me know if you guys can see my new screen. Can I just get a thumbs up or somebody come off mute and let me know if you can see my screen?
We see it.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So for anyone that's not aware, where I am right now is in Copilot Studio. And so this is an agent that I have, and I'm just going to walk you guys through a little bit on this agent and kind of talk about the things I just talked about in terms of the features, but really just points out some things that are really important to know when building a real-time voice agent. So first, we have just like the details and name description, and then the agent model. Like I said, we are using the Azure OpenAI GPT real-time model. The next thing I really want to spend some time focusing on is in instructions. So like I said in the beginning, Copilot Studio is where you define your agent's behavior and your personality, and instructions are really where you kind of drive that point home and putting in different instructions to really fine-tune your agent to how you want it to act. And so there's a bunch of different instructions here, but really some of the ones that I kind of want to highlight in terms of what we see, a lot of people doing that work well. First thing with instructions is persona. How do you want your, real-time voice agent to act? How do you want its tone, its empathy level, speaking style? All of those things you define with instructions. Other things that you define with instructions are things like your core capabilities. So what are the different use cases that agent can do? Any sort of language rules and how you want it to handle language switching, any sort of conversational guidance, escalation rules, error handling, all of that is defined within instructions. And really, you can just think of instructions as how you tell your agent what you want it to do. So different things, in this case, for example, I have it here that like, if the user asks about real-time voice agents, call this real-time voice agent child agents that I have configured. And if a user asks about ticket status, call this ticket status tool. And so these are some of just of the examples that you can do with instructions. And if you're looking at this and you are like, oh my God, how do I even figure out how to write the right instructions, because I know it can be very overwhelming at times. Luckily, we have a bunch of resources online within our contact center documentation, a bunch of different templates that you could start with when building real-time voice agents that kind of show you what are some good instructions per different industries that we have seen work. So if you're looking at this and you're like, oh my God, I don't know how to start with these different instructions, we have a bunch of resources out there so you can, get started and play around with them, because I think fine-tuning your instructions really helps you just being able to achieve a bunch of great things with your agents. So don't fret if this looks a bunch of like things that are new to you, because we do have a bunch of resources and we're continuously updating those resources as well. So that's a little bit on instructions. The next one is knowledge. So knowledge is basically how you want to ground your agent in different knowledge. So you can have different public websites, you can connect to Dataverse, different documents. Really, this is how you just give all the knowledge to your agent without cluttering it up in instructions and just putting different things that you wanted to know. Web search is basically just like if you want it to be able to access different websites, or if you don't want it to access anything and you just want it to be grounded in the knowledge that you give it. Next that we have is tools. So I have a set of different tools here. So I have a connector tool. This one just checks on ticket status. The MCP tool that I was kind of talking about. This one checks on subscription status, and then a flow. This one sends an SMS text based on if the customer wants a text to be sent. And so we have a bunch of different tools here, and you can configure a whole bunch of different other tools. But really, like I said, with real-time voice agents, you're able to integrate these to these backend systems and perform a whole bunch of different operations instead of just, making it some sort of FAQ bot. The other thing I want to talk about is also, I think I talked about child agents a little bit. So just kind of getting into here, I have one child agent here. This one is a real-time voice agent to kind of just talk about real-time voice agents, and we'll see that a little bit in the demo. But like I said, with child agents, they follow the same hierarchy, parent life cycle, but you can give it its own set of instructions, knowledge, and tools. And so you don't have to put all of this information in that one big parent agent. If you're going to have different lines of businesses, you're able to accomplish that with child agents. Next, we have the topics. So like I said, topic support is where you can put a little bit more of the deterministic flows. So you can have any sort of deterministic flows for escalation or silence detection or any sort of type of flows that you want to handle via topics, you can continue to support them. And that's something that's really special about this feature as well. And I think that pretty much goes over all the things that, we can do. One more that's important, the testing pane, I think you guys see right here. So this is the one where, you can test your agent using your voice. So if I press this button, I would be able to actually test it. And then I could, right in here, go in and change a bunch of different stuff and then test it instead of having to, call in and do that all like as manually as possible. With this, you're able to really just call in and, change those instructions and really see it on the fly. So yeah, I think that covers a bunch of the great things that I had already talked about, but I just wanted to help you guys see that as well and then really, where it is in the product. There's a whole bunch of other things that you can do with these real-time voice agents, but these ones I think kind of just scratch the surface. But with that said, I think we can probably get into just actually calling into this agent and just seeing how it acts and responds. And I'll kind of point you through the flow as we go. But I'm just going to call into this agent. And hopefully I'm going to put my speaker to the phone so you guys can all hear. But if you cannot, just let me know and I'll try to see if I can make it a little louder. So let us call in and hopefully can hear it. Can you guys hear ringing?
Yes.
Hello, and welcome to Microsoft Dynamics 365 Contact Center. How can I assist you today?
Hi, I want to check on my contact center subscription status, please.
Of course, I can help with that. Let's start by getting your first and last name, and then we'll move forward with verification.
Meryl Streep.
Thanks, Meryl. And what's your last name?
Streep.
Got it. Meryl Streep. Now, could you please provide your 4-digit PIN for verification?
1234.
Thank you for that. I'll go ahead and check your subscription details now. Let me pull up the information. It looks like I couldn't find any subscription details matching the information provided.
Oh, you're right. I'm no Meryl Streep. My full name is Nicole Kidman.
Thanks for letting me know, Nicole. Let's go ahead and update that. I'll just need your 4-digit PIN again to verify your account.
1928.
Thank you, Nicole. I'll now check your subscription details using that information. Just a moment. Nicole, I've got your subscription details. Your current plan is active and it's set to expire on January 12th, 2027. Would you like me to send these subscription details to you via text?
Oh yeah, that would be great.
I'm on it. Just give me a moment while I pull up your phone number so we can send those subscription details via text. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for hanging in there. We're almost done sending your subscription details via text. Let me know if there's
Oh, awesome. I just got the text.
Let me know if there's anything else I can help with.
Yeah, actually, I filed a ticket a few days ago, but I haven't received any updates. Can you help me with that?
I'd be happy to help check the status of your ticket. Could you please provide the ticket number so we can look it up?
Oh yeah, give me a second to find that. I need to find that ticket number.
Sure, take your time. I'm here whenever you're ready with that ticket number.
Okay, I got it. It's 482931.
Thanks for that. Let's go ahead and check the status of ticket 482931. I'll pull up the details for you now. Here's what I found. Your ticket 482931 is currently in progress, and it's being handled by the billing team. The estimated resolution time is about 2 business days. Would you like me to set up a notification for you once it's resolved?
No, that's okay. But can you actually just recap that ticket status in Spanish, please, for my mom who's right next to me? She only understands Spanish.
Claro, puedo hacer eso. Veo que el ticket 482931 está en progreso. El equipo encargado es el equipo de facturación. Y el tiempo estimado de resolución...
Actually, my mom just left. We can continue in English now.
Understood. We'll continue in English. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like to go over regarding your ticket or anything else.
Yeah, I was actually reading about this new feature called real-time voice agents. Can you explain to me more about them?
Absolutely. I can connect you to a specialist who can explain all about real-time voice agents in detail. Let me get that set up for you now. Real-time voice agents are advanced AI-driven virtual agents that can handle live voice conversations naturally and with very low latency. They can engage in real-time speech-to-speech interaction, offer AI-powered self-service, and scale to meet enterprise needs, helping reduce wait times and improve customer experiences. Would you like me to send you the latest update article via text message right now?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Great. I'll send you the latest update on real-time voice agents right away. Let me retrieve your phone number and send that text. Let me know if there's anything else I can help with.
Yeah, can I just actually talk to a representative to learn more about these real-time voice agents, please?
Absolutely. I'll connect you to a specialist right away so you can learn more about real-time voice agents. Please hold while I transfer you.
Okay, awesome. So now it's just transferring me to an agent. But I quickly want to just show the text that I got because I wasn't able to show them on my thing. But this is the text, and I'll actually just drop it in the chat so you guys can also see. But it sent me my subscription status and then also the link to the real-time voice agent as well. So yeah, that was just one of the many examples that we can do real-time voice agents with. Some of the things I kind of want to highlight based on that call. First, I hope people picked it up on it, how fast that experience felt. Each turn, the latency on each turn didn't feel like I was waiting. It was really like a real-time conversation, and it felt as natural as possible. Some other things were, the authentication aspect, where I'm not Meryl Streep, and it caught that, and it was able to prompt me correctly and do it in a natural way. Other things is obviously the tool calls and being able to do the tool calls. So kind of just showing you what you just heard, but now that you've heard it with these instructions, I have a bunch of tool calls. So checking on my subscription status and then sending me my SMS text. The other ones were obviously the language switch and being able to quickly change languages on the fly and how quickly it did that, going from English to Spanish and back to English. Something else that I didn't kind of highlight here, but was with the latency messages. I don't know if everyone picked up on it, but as I was doing a few of these operations, instead of just me hearing silence, it was saying, hey, Sonel, I'm working on that request. I'll get to you to do that shortly, instead of it just being silent. Also, the child agent aspect, where I asked about real-time voice agents, and then it called the real-time voice agents aspect and it handled that. And then lastly, just being able to transfer me to a real-life representative. So again, this kind of just scratches the surface of what you can do with these real-time voice agents. There's a whole bunch of other things that you can do that we didn't talk about, but hopefully we kind of got that through this demo. But with that said, we have about 10 minutes left, and I saw, I think, some questions coming in the chat, and so I don't know if we want to start opening it up on the floor for any questions, or Sarah, if there's any pressing questions in the chat that we want to kind of go over as well, we can take that from there. But yeah.
All right, looks like we have a question from on the phone from Balaram. I apologize if I'm slaughtering your name.
Yeah, thank you. So I have two questions. First question is basically, let's take, I have two agents. The primary agent is built on classic orchestration, NLE based, deterministic, and I wanted to send it to a child agent, which is on this real-time voice, and then can it set up this way? And also this can it also return the control back to the primary agent?
Yeah, so within child agents themselves, child agents have the same orchestration as the parent agent. So what you're referring to, I think right now, is more of the connected agent support. So having two different types of orchestrations, since with child agents, they're just going to follow the same life cycle as the parent agent, so they'll have the same orchestration. Connected agent support is something that we are currently working on trying to achieve. So as of today, it's not supported, but it is a valid use case that we are trying to work through. So as of today, no, but it's something that is on our roadmap and that we are working on. But very good question. And yes, it will eventually would be able to hand off that control to the parent agent. At least even today it is. So
thank you. So that's on the roadmap. Second question is basically, let's take, I have an use case where I need to kind of like an interpreter solution where I need to send it to a human agent and then bridges as a conference or and want to translate the agent voice, which is in English, to Spanish, because the customer is on the Spanish line. So basically it's a Spanish caller, but agent is on English.
So you're talking, this is human to human translation. So once they're already talking to a human agent, you mean?
Yeah. So basically, the customer is talking to an IVR, then it's routed to an agent, which is a human agent. So the customer is on Spanish, a Spanish speaker, and the agent is an English speaker. So I wanted to interpret or translate that voice real time using this model and convert it like an overlay.
I see. Yeah. So for this experience, this is only human to agent. So when we look at human to human, I'm really glad you asked this question because bidirectional human to human translation is another feature that I'm driving. So that will be separate from this, but it is something that we are currently working on as well and achieving that bidirectional translation where the caller and the customer service rep are speaking in different languages and being able to translate both. So this is separate from this feature, but it is something that we are working on and hopefully coming soon. So I'm glad that you asked about it because it's also something that's really interesting. So yeah, it's not
So
with this, it's something else.
Thank you. So what is the product name? Maybe can you put it on the chat so that, or
For
can you
that,
send
so
me
yeah.
more information about it?
Yeah, so it's currently something that we're working on, so it's not out yet. But yeah, it will be real-time human to human speech translation. But yeah, that's not something that's currently available yet.
Okay, so it's on the roadmap. It's something new.
Yeah,
Okay.
but actively being worked on.
Excellent.
Okay, great. Thank you. Edmar, you have a question?
Yes, hello. I've been building a couple of these real-time agents and had quite a trouble to make it understand long digits, you see. So, for example, there's one with 11 digits, and it does not wait for the customer to say the whole number. Any tips on that?
Yeah, so within at least the DTMF configuration, you are able to put interdigit timeouts. So to be able to configure how long you want it to wait within each timeout as well. So I think that's something that you can look into. Are you using Copilot Studio to build these real-time voice agents, or is it?
Yeah, it's Copilot Studio.
Yeah. So I think the interdigit timeout would be one place where you can configure how long you want it to be within digits. Otherwise, that's something that can probably also we can look into being achieved at least with instructions in terms of for this any DTMF input, you should be expecting an 11-digit key. And this is like the kind of format that it would be in. So like don't rush until like you have that sort of format. But I think the interdigit timeout should be able to help in that case first before you get into instructions.
In this case, it's the customer is speaking, not using DTMF.
Okay, so they're speaking. So then yeah, then with instructions that should be achievable then. Where you can say the expected format would be 11 digits. Please wait until the whole digit is set. And you can set those rules that it should be anticipating an 11 digit, so we'll only wait till it gets the 11 digits.
Well, we did all of that, but then I can send you a message later on. And
feel free. Yeah, I would love to see this. Yeah. We can
show you what
that.
we've done already. Okay,
Perfect,
thanks a lot.
That sounds good. Thanks so much. I'm going to slaughter this name again. Prithvi, you have a question?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. So the question I had is, I can see you have put in some instructions in the Copilot, but while we give the instruction, there is, so we come across a lot of scenarios wherein there are the complex scenarios and we have multiple topics there. So the only thing is like, there is a character limit to the number of instructions that we can give, right? Currently, the character limit would be 8,000 characters or so. So if we like overutilize it, then what would be the ideal solution?
Yeah,
Would
so
it be
it
the
was
child agent or something? Yeah.
Yeah, so the first solution would be child agents to, try to break up those large instructions and trying to see if there's anything that you can do with child agents. But we have just increased it from 8,000 characters to 20,000 characters based on that exact feedback.
Okay.
So you should have more instruction space now. But yes, using child agents to break up any of the more complex flows would be the first solution. But we have increased the character count. And if we see that, it needs to be increased even more based on different instructions, that's something that we can also, do. But yeah, we got that same feedback. So now it's 20,000. So.
Okay. Other than that, the second question would be, so now currently how you are interacting is the ideal scenario wherein you are sitting in a quiet room, right? But that won't be the ideal scenario while we cater for different markets, right? So suppose if it is a UK market, we are building a certain Copilot for the councils wherein people are not in the ideal what we call situation where they can have background noise as such. So would the Copilot be able to cut out or I'm not sure it would be able to cut out, but would it be able to pick whatever the customer is talking about, and would it be able to make sense out of it?
Yeah, so I kind of talked about speech sensitivity a little bit, but to go back onto that, OpenAI has two voice activity detections, so semantic VAD and server VAD. So we expose both to makers, and so you can choose. So semantic VAD is basically detects like silence based on the sentence context versus server VAD based on just any silence that it's hearing. So you can set different parameters in place for when you think your callers are calling from. So there's different configuration, and actually send some documentation since I see a bunch of other hands up on how to configure it for different noisy environments. But yeah, that is something that we're continuously testing to make it as noise apparent as well, because agreed, I'm calling from, a non-noisy environment, but there are some things in place currently to try to work within noise sensitivity, and I can send that documentation as well to kind of, so you can read more about it and try it out as well based on your settings. Yeah.
Okay,
Understand.
awesome. Thank you.
I have one final question. Sorry, I'm taking up the time, but the only thing is, are there any known limitations? Because I've seen Microsoft is like pretty open about if there are any known limitations and stuff. So, are there any known limitations to this particular Copilot? And do we have any documentation around it?
Yeah, everything that's documented has all the set of limitations. Majority of the limitations right now are things like child agents right now are in public preview. Same thing with voice testing and Canvas is public preview, as we're getting in some initial feedback before we go officially GA. And then, yeah, most of the other limitations are documented in terms of like best practices and things that will work best in certain scenarios. So I think referencing that would be a good place to start.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks for your questions. Matt, you're up.
Hello, I just had a question regarding kind of the child agent. So I've built a couple real-time agents, and I wanted some clarity. Like, does child agents, are they able to pass context over to dynamics today? Because right now, like, I can only get my parent agent to actually pass over context variables that I can use for at the agent level. So I was just wondering, is that something that should be working today, or is that something that will be coming in the future for child agents?
That should be, so the scenario is like you have the parent agent and the child agent, and the child agent is escalating straight, or it's returning back to the parent agent, because essentially when it goes back to the parent agent, should be just sending in all that context.
It should be sent. It should go back to the parent agent to kind of
Mhm.
close and then hand off. Like, so if my scenario is like I'm collecting some user information in the beginning, and my child agent's collecting. It's doing a kind of it's collecting. It should be collecting like a lane number at one of our retail locations, which is not then passing over to Dynamics. It's only
Okay.
it's only passing over what the parent's collecting, not what the child agent is
Okay.
collecting.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me so we can investigate that, just so we can see and see what's going on there, because it should be passing. So yeah, but feel free
Okay,
to
cool. Thank you.
reach out to you.
And one other thing, do we have a GA date for real-time agents yet, or is it just public preview?
It was announced GA in April, so we're currently
Oh,
GA.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. We have time for one more question. Unfortunately, we're hitting against time limit, but we want to get to everybody. So you can follow up with us. I'll post again the form that you can fill out, or you can reach out to the person that invited you. We also can, share our contact information so you can get in touch with one of us. So Peter, over to you.
I have a question around the language switching. So I tried building it. I tried to connect it to the work streams, and it seems that it only can connect to the languages that you put on the work stream. So I was wondering, is there a way to basically make it also possible to switch to languages that you do not define on the work stream before, while building?
Yeah, so it's not the languages in the work streams, it's the languages that you've configured within your Copilot Studio agent. So whatever
Yeah, but it
languages
doesn't connect. So if if there's a language mismatch between the agent and the work stream, it doesn't connect to Dynamics at all.
So are you saying like the transcription doesn't like come in correctly, or what is?
No, I'm saying that the AI bot, if you add it to Dynamics, it doesn't, it spins and it needs to connect on voice and chat. It won't connect at all. Without any error messages, it won't connect.
Okay, this again, I think we should probably just take that offline just to see, because it
Yep,
should work with
that's fine.
the languages that you've configured. What ends up happening if there's a language mismatch is just that transcription won't come in the language that you set for your work stream, but the actual agent itself should continue to be speaking in the right language. But yeah, I would
Yeah,
love to see
let's
what's
connect
happening on that
offline.
front.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Everyone have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Inside